Today we'll be comparing this cheap disposable camera to this cheap non-disposable camera, specifically the Kodak Ektar H35. Disposable cameras have been around for a long time and have generally been targeted towards non-professionals as the everyday camera that can't really excel in one thing but can kind of do everything slightly bad. They generally take plastic toy garbage pictures that only a potato would love, but it's okay because these cameras generally take 27 exposures, and after its use, the film is retrieved, the camera is destroyed, and then hopefully recycled. Now enters this non-disposable, refillable point-and-shoot camera like the Kodak Ektar H35. They also take the same plastic toy garbage photos, but now you can load the film yourself and reuse this camera as many times as you'd like. There are a lot of cameras like this out in the market, but this specific camera has a very unique and awesome feature. Instead of being a full frame camera, this is a half frame camera, meaning each exposure only takes up half of a single frame, so it doubles the amount of pictures that you can take. The quirk being the vertical and horizontal orientation are now switched. So before we compare side-by-side images, let's physically compare these two cameras. Both of these cameras feature plastic lenses, roughly an f9 aperture, 1/140th of a second, and have a 1 meter minimum focusing distance, an f9 aperture, a 1/100 shutter speed, and also a 1 meter minimum focusing distance. Both of these cameras feature the ability to use a flash. On the disposable, the film advances to the right, and the film advance winds toward the left on the H35. The viewfinder on the disposable camera is much larger and brighter, and in my opinion, way easier to compose, and the H35 viewfinder is quite small and does have this reversed orientation mask that switches vertical and horizontal. Since you're cutting the resolution in half, wouldn't these plastic toy garbage photos look even worse? So now for our blind photography test. I loaded my H35 with an identical film stock matching the disposable camera and shot these cameras side by side in the exact same conditions. Landscapes, some with the flash on, flash off, selfies, you name it. And to be completely honest, even with you knowing that the H35 is half the resolution, you'd be very surprised. So let's see if you can tell which is which. And my quick disclaimer here is that the only edits have been to white balance, tint, but all in all, these photos have been left pretty objective. Okay, so before we reveal the results, I want you to go ahead and comment down below what your guess is. Lock in your answer. I would love to scour the comments and see what your guesses were. So here are some of my thoughts on the results. Across the board, these photos are not very sharp, and that's mostly due to the fact that both of these cameras have not very high quality plastic lenses. And I didn't leave them all in here, but there were a lot of images that were just too blurry to even share, and that could be due to a couple of things. Both cameras' shutter speeds hover right around 1/100th of a second, but with both of these you can only expect sharpness right in the center and the sharpness falling off very quickly right around the edges, and they both roughly have a minimum focusing distance of 1 meter or so. So if you're taking selfies with either of these, everyone else will be in focus, but you probably won't be. And comparing these side by side, even though the H35 images are half the resolution, I really don't think you can tell. And you're comparing two potatoes anyway, so you might as well use the cheaper potato. You get what I mean? Which brings me to the next point. Price. This will be a very fascinating comparison. When you buy a disposable camera, you're buying both the camera and the film together. The film is already loaded into the camera. You do have the additional and upfront cost of buying the camera and then also still having to buy film, so that's one thing to think about. And obviously all of these prices will vary, as sometimes you can get these in packs, which would save you some money. So all these prices are just based on a loose average. If a single disposable camera ended up costing somewhere around $18, yielding 27 exposures, that the price per photo is 66 cents, and that does not include developing and scanning, so you may want to factor that in too. With the H35, and these prices based off of the same roll of film that's in the disposable camera, would be somewhere between $10 and $15, but we'll just say 15 for math, the more common 36 exposure type roll, which would yield 72 images, thus bringing the cost per photo to 21 cents. Which means very roughly, pound for pound, photo for photo, shooting on the H35 instead of a disposable camera is roughly a third of the cost. So which of these is better? And let's just address, you're not picking one of these up to win awards with. These are just for fun, vibey memories at a very, very cheap and approachable price point. Between the two, I think the H35 just takes it simply because of how many exposures you can get. The fact that you can double any roll of film that you get, and you can switch up any type of film that you're using, whether it's black and white, different ISOs, or different color profiles. It means that you can be way more experimental and try new things because the 72 exposures is extremely forgiving. And with disposables, even though it's intended to be recycled, you can never guarantee that that's actually what's going to happen. At least in that factor, it might be more environmentally friendly to shoot a reusable camera. I hope you found this video helpful. If you like this video, please like it. It does make a huge difference. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.